Hi everyone, it's a pleasure to welcome you to my first ever YouTube video, and today we're going to be doing a sort of a get to know me tag, answering some of your questions from Instagram. So, the first question is, where were you born? I was born in London, in England. My mum is from Pune in India, and my dad was born in Kampala, Uganda in Africa. But they both met in London, and me and my sister were born there, and the rest is history. How old are you? So I'm 26 years old, specifically born January 22nd, 1994. What did you study? So I studied electrical and electronic engineering at university at Imperial College London. The next question, what do you enjoy doing in life and what are your hobbies? So it is true that my hobbies do change quite often as I'm growing older, but I've always loved painting, drawing, like anything to do with art, as well as music and singing. But I also love a lot of anything to do with fitness, but more so the kind of running, spinning, kind of boot camp classes. Oh, and I love escape rooms. If you put me in an escape room, I can be set for life. How did you move from engineering into digital? So I think it kind of stems from not necessarily knowing what I wanted to do. When I took a year out after in between my degree, I had an internship at Burberry in digital marketing in paid and bought media to be specific. And it was my first experience in kind of working in a company within digital marketing. And at that time was pretty new as well. The social media was just rising. And I instantly knew that I was actually A, pretty good at it, but B, I really loved it. So I think for me, it was my first experience in the corporate world that I think I had a direct connection to. So it was just a natural projection into going from engineering into digital marketing from that point onwards. Are you still singing? Yeah, so for those who don't know, I am a singer on the side. Actually, if you type in my name on Google, it says musical artist, so I can't get rid of that. So I think forever I'm a singer to the world. But that's actually how I started to gain my social media following. Was initially during university, after lectures, I used to go to the studio a lot. I started recording acoustic covers, specifically to popular pop songs. So one of my covers of Ariana Grande, I think got over 1 million views and a couple of thousands of shares and stuff on Facebook. That was really exciting at the time. And my Wrecking Ball cover on Spotify has got nearly 1 million plays. So my acoustic covers got a lot of traction, and that led me to start developing my own music, writing my own songs and having my own EP. So I've released a song called Runaway as my last single, but it's just purely a hobby, nothing I'm taking too serious for now, nothing like a professional career change, but definitely go check out Akash Mehta and Spotify to hear some of my songs. How did he get into Dior? So actually, my journey, I'll explain a bit more. So after my Burberry experience and when I graduated Imperial, I actually realized at that point that from my music, when I started to gain a social media following, that made me a sort of like, at that time, a mini influencer. So having my own social media presence and having tested a lot of digital marketing activities from advertising to content management, etc., on my own account, I managed to find the connection between translating that into a company. So I started interviewing. I got an unpaid internship at Estee Lauder companies, and then within a couple of weeks, I managed to get the youngest ever social media manager role because I tried to convince them to say, I have my own social media following. I've done pretty much most digital activities on my own account. Similar to a brand, it's just migrating those practices onto a business account. I think at that time I was one of the first influencers to like not be an influencer but actually work in corporate. So I worked in the social media manager for Aveda in Estee Lauder company specifically for the UK, Ireland, and then EMEA markets. And then Dior opportunity came around. I had some interviews with the CEO. I really fell in love with the company and the top management, and I decided to take the plunge, leave London for the first time, and move to Paris to work for the head office there. And I spent around 3 years there, and yeah, it was an incredible experience. What was Dior like? Yeah, so actually, for me, there was many ups and downs with any company, especially if you're growing. The stresses come with the role as it gets bigger. For me, I really tried to use it as an entrepreneurial experience. I wanted to be as agile, as innovative as possible in an existingly big heritage maison like Dior. And my mission was coming in to say, if I can do something differently. So when I left, there was a mark on Dior that's forever changed, hopefully in a positive direction, that I managed to implement. And in digital marketing being one of the the fastest growing channels, I thought that was a great place to be in. So I was looking after specifically like the micro influencer, some of the influencer sections, some social media accounts, and then affiliate marketing I brought into my scope as well. And I managed to land a Forbes 30 under 30 title during my time there, which was also a huge sort of recognition for myself, even to know that, wow, I can work in a big company, but still be recognized as sort of like an entrepreneur within that. But it all started by your mentality in there. So I made sure in my team that I grew them as if they were like my own team. I made sure that the budgets I spent, every penny counted as if it was my own money. And I made sure I worked over the hours if needed, sometimes until 5 a.m. in the morning. It didn't matter as long as the job was done effectively and efficiently. So I think that's what really helped me progress. But I also made sure that I went in not thinking that this is a long-term play. I went in thinking every year is a blessing as long as I keep on learning. So when I stop learning, that's my moment to leave. But yeah, overall, loved Dior, and it's an incredible place to work for. LVMH in general is just a great company. What made you leave corporate life? So I decided to leave corporate life because I stopped learning. It sounds quite odd to say, but when you work in a big company, especially in a field like digital marketing, I kind of reached my peak, I felt, and I stopped learning and growing. And as much as it was so enjoyable, I started to get quite comfortable. And for me as an individual, I love to be always on my toes, always learning and growing each day. So I already said when I started corporate life that when I go into a company, I wouldn't mind leaving, because for me, it was like that stepping stone approach to like graduate from one job to another, similar to university. Like you don't repeat the year, you graduate. And I think working in big companies like this, I think you often have to work the same thing a couple of years before you go to the next step. So it might be right for some, but for me, I always felt like I wouldn't go to university and do the same year, the same 3 times. So that's my approach to a thing. So I decided it was the right time for me to leave from that angle. But at the same time, during my time, I also worked a bit on the side on my haircare brand with my sister called Fable Mane, which I waited to get to the point where it was sort of big enough to be a full-time gig and ready for me to basically say, cool, gotta quit, now gotta be full-time on Fable Mane. So that's pretty much what happened, and I made the jump and wouldn't look back now. It's been I'm very grateful for my corporate life, but honestly, having your own company has been one of the bestest and most learningful experiences I've ever had in my life. Another question: how did you begin building Fable Mane? So I think I touched on it a bit, but basically, it's I feel like you don't have to do one thing only. So a lot of people would leave corporate life and then start their business, but I think you can do both, and you have the stability of a job and an income. But our days are so long. We have 24 hours in the day. And for me, like working 9 to 5 was a lot longer in reality, I was able to always say like, well, I can do my job, but then when I go home and work on my business, that's no longer working. That's just fun. That's just like my own personal time, because it was just so exciting. So I think for me, I would definitely recommend everyone to do what we did, where we started working on Fable Mane slowly, but making sure that we were very sure in our formula as being the most effective as we can. So we started building the products, the concept. We started going to retailers, getting some traction, getting some interest. Then we started making the mock-ups, and then we started making the first samples. And then before you know it, we're pretty much ready to launch. And at that moment was when I decided to leave the corporate life. And that's when Fable Mane was birthed. And we launched at Sephora as our first retailer, and it's been just an incredible journey. But I think I'll do a separate video just on Fable Mane, because there's a lot to say and hopefully a lot of tips to give as well. What's it been like so far with Fable Mane? So yeah, on that, we've launched during COVID-19, like during coronavirus. So I think for us, we only know business during such a tricky time. But fortunately enough, our product is built to be at home. It's wellness, self-care, home rituals. So funnily enough, it's actually been maybe a fortuitous time where everyone's at home taking their moment for themselves. At the same time, our mission is all about protecting the tigers and the wildlife in India. It's been a great journey so far, and I think one of the proudest moments of my life for sure. How is it like working with your sister? It is a very good question. So normally working with your sibling can be a hit or miss. While me and my sister, we do fight a lot sometimes, we are actually best friends. Like I would say she's my 100% my best friend. And the reason for that is we're so different. So I think as business partners, we work so well together because she's got strengths that I don't have and I've got strengths she doesn't have. And we both have also very different kind of corporate entrepreneurial upbringing. She's a lot more of the creative entrepreneur. I'm much more of the kind of structured corporate person. But together, we kind of fill in the blanks that we both don't have, and we both also teach each other a lot. So I'm learning from her every day, and I hope she's doing the same with me. So yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. But I think one business is enough. Would you go back into corporate? So I would never say never to anything in life because we always change and adapt, and the world also changes too. So all I can say is for right now, my answer would be probably not, because I've just as much as I'm grateful for my experience in corporate, I really feel like I've done it. I've worked for my dream brand Dior for the most time. And now I've had a taste of entrepreneurial life, having my own business. There's pretty much no way I can go back. It's the best feeling for sure that I've ever had. What is your agency about and how did you create it? So on the side, I do have my own company actually. I do have my own digital agency called Akash Agency, a very innovative name. But it's pretty much a bit of a consulting slash digital agency that we kind of pride ourselves to be a conscious digital agency built on sustainable digital marketing. So we work with brands and companies and individuals that have similar values to myself, being kind of pioneering the world of sustainability and mindfulness, etc. So if I can help their presence online to reach more people, then I also feel I'm doing more good as well. So that's very important. But also working with companies that understand that digital marketing must be sustainable for the long term. So I want to make sure that companies don't invest or overinvest in areas that isn't a return on investment, and also they invest in things that are really making an impact in the world and not just for short-term success. Another question: how did you create your online courses? And thank you so much, they've helped me a lot. Oh, well, I'm really glad. I actually created my online courses during the COVID-19 period because I really felt it was a perfect time for giving back and helping people when they're at home, having more time to themselves. And I think content sharing is one of the best things to do at this current time. So I literally had this idea on a Saturday and I said to myself, wouldn't it be cool to share some of my knowledge from my point of view to my followers on Instagram initially? And this stemmed from the fact that I started to give like one-on-one hour free consultations to some of my followers, and I did about 4 to 5 a week. And after like I think the 25th session, I was like very tired. So I was like, okay, it's a shame because I'm saying the same thing to all these people, and if I can reach a lot more people and just say the same thing, it will be doing a lot more good, and also save more time for myself. So that's when this digital course came around, and I launched it on Instagram, and then literally within I think 3 minutes I had like 1,000 signups. It was pretty much the most I've ever had in terms of an interaction from my own audience, and I started to see people sharing it with their friends, and we started to get like nearly 8,000 people signing up to these courses, which is a 2-month course. So so I'm going to be posting them on my YouTube channel each week. We're on like nearly halfway through, but they're every Friday at in June and July at 5 p.m. British time. So you can still sign up via akashagency.com or just watch them on YouTube later if you can't make the live session. But this course will be on digital marketing, but maybe in the future I'll do some courses on brand building or mindfulness, who knows. So it's just me creating these ideas, and I'll just kind of go with the flow and do whatever I feel is best. But I love sharing whatever I've learned in life, and I think everyone should be doing that because I've been given a lot of help during my whole journey and my whole career. So if I can do the same back to you guys, it's the least I can do. What tips would you give young entrepreneurs or students? So I think I would say failing is sometimes your biggest success. So not many people know, but during my 4-year university career, my third year I ended up having to repeat exams because I failed more than 2, so out of 12, which in my mind wasn't that bad, but was very harsh and very strict Imperial. So I had to repeat the year, and that's when I worked in Burberry. And at that time, during my childhood, failing was like the biggest deal. Like, if I didn't get 95% in an exam, I would like cry. That was the kind of student I was. So for me, it was a really big moment in my life, a sort of like a crisis moment. But I realized at that time, being quite mindful and kind of, going into my own thoughts, that the only person who can bring me out of this sort of, wouldn't say depression, but sort of like, constant sadness of having felt like I failed in life, was myself. Only I can create a better future. Only I can change my mindset and my mental mood. And I think having dealt with that made me realize a lot. And I also try to learn how to make this failure something that will make me stronger at the end of it, and that I'll never make maybe the same mistake again, or at least when I come out of it, I'll be even stronger than I was before, right? So how can I make the failure into success? And I think that experience has transitioned into my whole life. So that failure was actually the biggest success of my entire life, because I managed to realize that engineering wasn't for me. I probably would have done a career in finance at that time, was my natural progression. And instead I decided to take the year out, work in marketing, learn that I love digital marketing. Then my whole career was in Dior, Estee Lauder, and now today. And I couldn't imagine life without where I am right now. So I think if I would go back in time and reverse that fail, no, I would 100% fail to make the decisions I have made to be where I am. So now when I do anything in business and there's a problem or there's a failing, I sort of smile at the failure, because it makes me more excited to know how I'm going to grow out of it and be more successful after I've learned from that failure. So I think biggest advice is kind of to reiterate is to deal with failures as a new success, and really like channel that and make you stronger, and channel the unknown. Like life is full of unknown. I don't know what I'm doing next week, right? So just go with the flow, keep on growing, keep on learning. But remember, after, especially if you're a student, after university, that's where the real learning begins. So never settle for a week or a month at a time where you just feel you're just bored, you're not doing much, you're not learning much. Quit, change, or do something, because every week, every day matters. So for me, I always make sure that I take it week by week and I keep on trying new things. And maybe it's because I'm just a bit I'm an inventor of myself. I like to always try new things. So I think that's something I would challenge you guys to do the same. And the last question, because I wanted to make this quite concise and neat, was what is the future now? What does the future hold for Akash Mehta? Again, kind of going back to my last point, is I don't know. The unknown for me doesn't scare me. It's something that I embrace, and I'm excited to see what it holds. For sure, for now, I definitely want to continue building more brands. With Fable Mane, I want to grow this to a bigger and more stronger brand. But I also want to build some other beauty brands and have other co-founders and other inspiring people that I can meet and learn from. As well as kind of going further into this digital course, online coursing, teaching, helping, webinars, etc. I think coronavirus has really made me love live streaming and the sort of like personal interaction with people all over the world. So that's something I definitely want to build. And I am writing a book all about mindfulness, entrepreneurship, really targeted for millennials. So that's something I'm also working on the side. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the little Q&A tag. Feel free to comment below with any suggestions you have for upcoming videos on my channel. And don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Instagram. Namaste guys, and see you soon.